Good morning, boys and girls. So, as we've talked about, this chapter is on measurements and converting different units of measurements. And we talked about some measurements on Friday, and the folder actually did not publish until later that day. So, we talked about the same thing on Friday that we did yesterday on Monday. And I uploaded those fillable notes for you if you wanted to print them off. If not, make sure that you're taking notes on a piece of notebook paper so that you can use those notes on your test. But today we are going to talk about customary capacity. So we're moving into gallons, pints, quarts, cups, and ounces instead of what we talked about on Friday and Monday, which were feet, yards, miles, inches. So you can see on the screen, we have our big G, which represents gallon. And this is just a visual way to remember how many gallons, quarts, pints, and cups are inside of each other. So you can see in 1 gallon, our big G, there are 4 quarts. Those Q's represent quarts. So there are 4 Q's, which tells us there are 4 quarts in a gallon. Well, if we look inside the Q, there are 2 P's, which are pints. There are 2 pints in 1 quart. But if we wanted to know how many pints were in the gallon, we would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this picture tells us that there are 4 quarts in a gallon. There are 2 pints in a quart. There are 8 pints in a gallon. And then if we look at cups, there are 2 cups inside a pint. There are 4 cups in a quart, which means that there are 16 cups in a gallon. And something that is not on this picture that we are going to go over is that there are 8 ounces in 1 cup. Okay, so you can use this visual that we have on the screen. You can make your own version. You can screenshot this and print it out. Or you can use the same way that we worked with measurements yesterday. And that is by having it written out for you. 1 cup is equal to 8 flow ounces. 1 pint is 2 cups. And if you scroll back up, you see that, right? 1 pint has 2 cups in it. Either way you want to remember this is totally fine with me. 1 quart is 2 pints. 1 gallon is 4 quarts. So we're going to fill out that chart just like we did the other day, going from smallest to biggest. So we would start with ounces. And if you notice, I just put the abbreviations because you may see both throughout the chapter. So we started with ounces, which is represented as OZ. We moved to cups, which is C. Pints is PT. Quarts is QT. And gallon is that big G. And again, when we go from a smaller measurement to a larger measurement, since there's going to be more of that measurement, we actually divide. And since there are 8 ounces in a cup, we would divide by 8. And if we went from cups to ounces, we would multiply by 8. From cups to pints, we divide by 2. From pints to cups, we multiply by 2. From pint to quart, we divide by 2. From quart to pint, we multiply by 2. From quart to gallon, we divide by 4. And from gallon to quart, we multiply by 4. Y'all should be pretty familiar with how to use this chart based on yesterday's lesson. And from the looks of it, y'all did really, really well. I had lots and lots of hundreds on that assignment, which is awesome. That shows me that you mastered that skill and you are very good at using this chart to help you solve some problems. So we are going to solve 2 problems together, and then you will have a few to solve on your own on Wiser, like always. So we have 24 pints and we need to move to cups. So again, you're going to put your finger on pints and you're going to move to cups, and we cross the ×2 arrow, which tells us that we need to take our number, which was 24, and multiply by 2. I know that 24 times 2 is 48. So that tells me that there are 48 cups in 24 pints, which makes sense, right? Because there are 2 cups in 1 pint. So there's double the amount of cups that there are pints, and 48 is twice as much as 24. If we go from 8 cups and we're moving to fluid ounces, we can start at cups, move to ounces, and we see that we cross that ×8 arrow. Well, we started with 8, and we know that 8 times 8 is 64. So there are 64 fluid ounces in 8 cups, which also makes sense because 1 cup is 8 ounces. We've got 2 more that we're going to do together really quickly. Alrighty, we have 8 gallons and we need to move to quarts. So if we start at gallons and we move to quarts, we cross that times 4 arrow. So that tells us 8 times 4 will give us the number of quarts, which also makes sense because there are 4 quarts in 1 gallon and we're trying to find out how many there are in 8. What is 8 times 4? 32, that's right. So there are 32 quarts in 8 gallons. Our last one that we're going to do together is how many cups are in 8 flow ounces? Well, if you remember that 1 cup is 8 flow ounces, you could just know that it's 1. But if you don't, look at your chart. If you start at ounces and move to cups, you divide by 8. And 8 divided by 8 is 1. Again, I will upload these notes for you so that you can print them out and fill them in with the video, or you can just write it on notebook paper. But make sure you are taking notes so that you can use them on your test at the end of this chapter. Remember, you have a short wiser assignment with 4 problems below. If you have any questions at all, please reach out to me, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.